Okay, Bhaskar, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're here today to talk a bit about your big project, the English Channel Swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And quite recently you did a preparation race, or you went to a training camp to Malta.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you did there?
Okay. So the English Channel Swim, it needs a qualification swim, which is actually very important so that you know your own preparation, your level of handling colder waters and distances and different other aspects.
Mm.
So that is a requirement, and I aim to do it early in the season so that if I find something lacking, I can work on it over the months. So that's why I did this camp in Malta, end of March, where we built up the distance from the swim time from 1 hour to 6 hours over the week in approx 15 to 16 degree Celsius water.
Okay, and that was the requirement, so that's why
Yes.
you went there to
Yeah.
perform a 6-hour swim in cold water.
Yeah.
And we're talking about without wetsuit.
Yes. So that's the rules for the channel.
Mm.
Captain Webb did this swim 100 years ago, or I don't know, in 1800s,
Mm.
with only textile costume, cap and goggles.
Yeah.
And that's the tradition they carried on. So anyone who
Mm.
wants to do a channel
Mm.
is supposed to follow those rules.
Mm.
And the same rules apply for the qualification swim or anything connected to the channel.
All right.
Yeah.
How do you cope with it? The cold water. What's sort of your way of dealing with it?
Yeah.
How cold will it be there when you do the channel swim?
I do the channel swim in August, so it's expected to be something between 16 and 18,
Mm.
maybe less, maybe more. We don't know these days. The weather or the climate is unpredictable.
Mm.
But it's better to be prepared for under 16, and that's what the rules for the qualifying swim say, that you have to do the 6 hours in less than 16 degrees. How do I cope with the cold? Of course, the initial shock is a bit troublesome, and if you're able to overcome that shock, and then you need to tell your mind that I'm not cold, or instead you can tell your mind that I'm warm.
Mm.
And that really helps. It's more about fooling your own senses. You can imagine different things in situations where you might feel warm, like maybe having a hot drink. Just imagining things that
Mm.
give you a sense of warmth, they really help. And of course, having positive thoughts. If you start thinking that I am cold, I am shivering, I cannot go on anymore, you will be cold.
Mm.
And if you're shivering, you're already losing much more energy than you would be normally.
Mm.
So just cutting off the feeling of cold is a very good strategy. It comes with practice. It is new for me. That mental preparation, it's new for me, but I'm getting a hang of it. So body takes time to acclimatize. Some say that it doesn't acclimatize at all. It's more that you make your mental mindset to get used to the cold water.
Mm. Mm.
So,
And you said that you don't have any sort of experience from before. You've been swimming before in India, but
yeah.
not that much. So you actually
Yeah.
started training when you came to Sweden.
Yes. So back in
When did you start, or when did the idea cross your mind?
Okay, so as a high school student, I used to swim. I used to be a pool swimmer, and I used to compete at state levels for 1500 meters and 800 meters, which is the maximum for a pool swim.
Mm.
And then education system in India is such that you need to make a choice, sports or education. You can't have both of them that easily. So I did make a choice. I went for education. I quit swimming for 8 years. And then the whole process brought me to Sweden, where I started with my master's. And one day during my master thesis, the pool was right next to the company, so I just thought, why not I just go for a swim, bring back the old days. I went there. I couldn't, I did complete a 50-meter length, but I really struggled. I was tired after 50 meters, and I started asking myself, how can this be possible? That I used to swim 1500 meters, I was good at it, and now I cannot swim 50 meters. And that very day I signed up for Vansbro, 3K.
Mm.
That was without any experience of open water swimming ever. I hadn't done any open water swim.
Mm. And what year was that?
That was 2014. No,
Right.
2015.
Oh.
2015.
Mm.
Yeah, spring.
Okay, so within 4 years from advanced pro,
Yeah.
struggling to get to advanced pro, and then 4 years later will be the English channel.
Exactly.
Impressive. Mm.
From the very first season of Vansbro, I had no clue about open water swimming. I had no clue that how a wetsuit behaves, so I was just picking tips from people. I just purchased the cheapest wetsuit I can find online. I jumped into a lake. I did a 1 hour swim or so. That was my only preparation to Vansbro. And then so that was 2015. 2016 I did Vansbro and I added a 10K swim to it. That was when I first met you. So I joined you in 2016 with the Deluxe. So that was the year I added a 10K at the Stockholm Aquathlon, Stockholm World Park Aquathlon. And then someone told me that you did a 10K, why not try this 21K in south of Sweden. That became my target for the very next year. From that, so I did Widersten in 2017, yes. And after that, I just thought, if I'm doing 20 plus K, why not I just do some more important or more fulfilling swims like crossings and so on. I looked up a lot of things. I found a lot of stories about people who are doing this or who have done this. That really inspired me. I decided to take up the channel. I looked up and I thought maybe channel is much bigger task, so I should prepare myself with maybe smaller tasks. So I signed up for Gibraltar, which I did last year, and before that, of the same year for the preparation, I did Widersten and Swim Extreme, the 20 and 25 kilometer swims. I said that Gibraltar was supposed to be smaller. It was smaller in terms of distance, but it had its own challenges. Yeah. So now having done Gibraltar and having some knowledge about channel, hearing from people, I don't say that they both are comparable to each other. Both are two different worlds, but it just gives me more confidence that I have done a crossing. I have been in open sea.
What challenges do you have to be prepared for when you do those races? It's like one thing you mentioned is the water. The water is pretty cold. The distance, the currents, whatever. And what challenge and how do you deal with them? I mean,
one challenge which I really saw while in Gibraltar is that you don't see land anywhere around you. So it's just water and you and escort boat. That's all. And that is something which you have to make up your mind to. If you're not seeing land, that doesn't mean something is wrong. And the only thing is you don't know where to go, but that's what the escort boat is there for. So it's more of a mental makeup that you don't see land, no problem, let it be, just enjoy the ocean. And then there can be several other things, cold water as you said, that is one of the things. And the distance, of course, and you might have currents. Some currents you might feel, like in the form of waves, and some currents you might not feel, and you would just be slower without any knowledge. Those things, and there can be some marine wildlife, jellyfish. Of course, some jellyfish can kill, but luckily these places are not known for such jellyfish. But still, you have to be careful. If something hits you, it's by careful, I don't mean that you have to dodge them, or if you see a jellyfish, you just jump out of the water. Not like that. But more being careful, what I mean is, if you get stung by something, you should not panic. That's what preparation, I would say, is. You cannot escape a jellyfish. They just show up from somewhere and sting you without you even seeing them. I got a sting during a Malta trip. I have a line over here.
You still have a scar there. Okay.
Yeah. So it's more about not panicking. Even if it's a really dangerous creature, your adrenaline is so high that it will take care of you till you get to proper help. Till you get to proper
Yeah.
help. So just don't panic, and it will be fine.
What thoughts do you have in your mind? I mean, you're in the water for 6 hours in the English Channel swim.
Yeah.
You said you're aiming for 12 hours, or
Yeah,
so
I would be
it's a
happy
long-
if it is 12 hours
Yeah.
or less.
But it's a long time. So what's going on in your mind, and how do you?
I mean, it's a mixture of thoughts. My only focus is always to keep the thoughts positive and happy.
Mm,
Earlier, I used to be like very focused while doing longer swims, 6 hours, 7 hours. I used to be like focused, 1 stroke, 2 stroke, 1, 2,
Mhm.
3,
Mhm.
like making sure every stroke is going perfectly.
Mhm.
Now, learning from experience, people who have done such enormous swims, I understand that it doesn't help that much to be super focused. What helps you
Mhm.
is to keep a happy mentality.
Mm,
I mean,
Mhm.
a couple of strokes here and there, they don't change much.
mm,
But
Mhm.
if you just relax your mind, that will help you a lot. So,
mm,
I mean, I do sing songs. I think about some TV series which I might have been watching recently, some,
mm,
or maybe what I would have after the swim, what I would eat after the swim,
mm,
or maybe the closest possible thing I can think about is what I would have for the next feeding.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's just all about happy.
Being happy and
Yeah, exactly. So,
mm, keeping a positive spirit.
yeah,
Mm.
being a stressful swimmer doesn't really help
Mm.
in long
Mm.
swims. You have to be a happy and
Mm.
relaxed swimmer.
But talking about being happy, I mean, I know you a little bit and how you train. Tell a little bit about how you prepare. How often do you train? What kind of volume or distances do you swim, so that we get a feeling for
Yeah.
preparation, and also what you focus on? Is it speed, or is it more as you said, just jumping in the water and swimming?
So usually I'm swimming around 4 to 5 days a week,
Mm.
and at least one of those sessions is supposed to be a longer session, closer to 3 hours swim. That
Mhm.
would be 10K maybe.
Mm. But you're talking more hours instead of K. Is that
Yes.
more the way
Yeah.
you think? It's
Yeah.
not you have to swim 10K.
Yeah.
It's more you have to be in the water for 3 hours.
Yeah, someone actually told me this, that someone who is really experienced with
Mhm.
ocean swims, he told me
Mhm.
that I don't care if you're faster or slower.
Mm.
I would be happy if you stay in there longer,
Mm.
for a longer duration.
Mm.
Because that is your threshold. Faster or slower, that's everyone's personal
Mm.
speed.
Mm.
But if you can stay in there longer, your speed doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So the longer swims I do is I don't think much about the pace.
Mm.
But otherwise, I do sessions which are supposed to be, some of the sessions are threshold sessions, some are critical swim speed
Mm.
sessions, and those are more focused on your building up your aerobic strength and also doing some cardio through those sessions. So as I said, out of the 5 sessions, one of them would be longer session with zero focus on pace. It would be just going on, just keep on swimming, practicing the happy feeling.
Mm.
And the other sessions would be approximately 5K, mixture of some intervals.
Mm.
Yeah.
But just did we get a feeling when you say that your threshold is that what sort of kind of speed per 100 meters?
For me, if I'm doing hundreds or 200s, I would try to be closer to 130, 132,
Yeah. Okay.
100 meters.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, and even for longer swims, if it's interval swims and I'm doing 400s or 500s, I would be closer to 138, 137.
Mm. Mm.
Although for me, pace is not very important. As I said, pace is not important. I have what it is. I don't want to gas out very early, and I don't want to, be stuck in a slower pace. So the best way to do is to go natural. Whatever your body feels like, just keep on doing that.
Mm. And then that time of the year, there's of course most of your training is done indoors, so in swimming pools. But what sort of kind of preparation do you do then to get prepared for the open water specific challenges like coldness and navigation? You don't have to do. It's still
for this case, I don't have to do
or
navigation.
waves and
I mean, once
weather.
the season is there, like now it's there, I just switch a couple of sessions out of the pool and bring them to the open water, including the long session. I just move that to the open water, lakes and everything. What open water helps, I mean, I cannot prepare for all the situations. I cannot create all the situations in here. I cannot create an English channel right here. But what I can get used to is not being able to see anything in the water. That is something, you know, fear of the unknown. You can't see anything, you can get scared of something which you don't know if it exists or not. Those kind of things can be, you know, if you keep on swimming 2 times, 3 times a week in dark waters like in Sweden, it really makes up your mind and it makes you very comfortable for open water. And then there can be winds, there can be some chop and everything. So you cannot plan for such conditions, but you just take as whenever they come. Maybe if it is raining, it should not be a reason for me to skip the swim. Maybe that's a good preparation, rain. And I also plan to do some night swims. That is also important. The channel 12 hours and plus, I would be in the dark at some point of the swim, beginning, end, mid, I don't know, but I would be in the dark, and that is something I need to prepare for as well. So yeah, those have to be done. Yeah.
What happens if you feel tired? How do you deal with that when you're swimming? Once you mentioned to me that the most difficult part are the first 15 minutes,
yes,
and then you get your flow. But
yeah,
at some point you probably get tired. How
For
do you
these
think? What do you do?
For these swims, I think the most important thing is to get into a rhythm. And the first 1 hour or first 1.5 hours, that is where you're struggling to get into a rhythm. You were on land and suddenly you're in water. You're trying to get into rhythm, getting used to the waves or chop or everything. And that, I think, is the tuning phase. That I find the most difficult. And once you're tuned, it doesn't. It's just the flow. You don't need to worry about the strokes. You don't need to worry about anything. And being tired, I think it's also a bit mental. Just like the cold, if you tell yourself that you are tired, then you are definitely tired. If you tell yourself you're not tired, you're fine, then you're fine. Of course, in such long swims, you're not relying on glycogen levels anymore. So you are out of energy, you're burning fat and everything. It would be a bit painful, but I just think that it's just normal, nothing special. Now we can go.